good evening, everybody. Hi there. My name is Joe Augustine. I'm very pleased to be your MC tonight. For those of you who are familiar with me, that's really great. But those of you who don't know, Singapore's first forcibly retired male model, basically. In my new life, I'm a presentation coach. I'm trying to help companies who are great tell people that they're great. It's such a pleasure to see everybody here this evening. On behalf of CIO Academy, I'd like to warmly welcome each and every one of you. First of all, our guest of honor, Mr. Gabriel Lim, Second Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Communications and Information, and Chief Executive Officer, IMDA Singapore. Would you please give a round of applause to welcome him? Our distinguished VIP guests, supporting organizations and sponsors, contributing book writers, as well as friends from the tech industry. As with all things nowadays, there's a hashtag. So the hashtag for this evening is Inspire Beyond SG50. Now, this evening we're gathered to celebrate something truly special. It is a special achievement, the official launch of a first-of-its-kind book that captures previously untold stories by some 55 CIOs and tech leaders in Singapore. The name of the book, of course, Inspire Beyond SG50. We have a great program lined up for you, some really great information, some great presentations. And our entertainment tonight is a very special duo. You see them on that side of the room there. Now, they met under very special circumstances. She is from Indonesia. He is, for those of you who know, a son of Singapore, very much so. And so naturally, they met at a country music festival in Miri, Sarawak. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Rani and Mel? And to open the show this evening, they have a special performance that I'm told that will commemorate the power of the word, and actually a little bit more than just the words.
From you, it's not that I want.
That's Rani and Mel. Are you guys gigging somewhere as well?
Tomorrow at the Esplanade.
There you go. So if you want to look out for them, I did a search for them. You can find them everywhere. Rani and Mel. So words, more than words. Today, the book launch represents much more than just words. This book is fuel. This book is something that might help some of you just last another day. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited for you to be able to read this later on this evening. But right now, I am going to welcome someone to the stage who I think is described very aptly by this one word: enthusiasm. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of us who worked with him over the years, I think it's going to be hard for you to remember a time that you've seen this person without him smiling. Would you please welcome a man who said, "Please just call me Rama," Deputy CEO, CIO Academy Asia. This is Rama.
Very good evening to all of you. Gabriel Lim, second PS for MCI and CEO of IMDA. I got that right. Yeah, and the rest of the distinguished guests, industry partners, friends. What a wonderful day it's going to be here today. Actually, Glenn, I'm a little nervous, today. Maybe it's tinged with a little bit of excitement. Okay, so many of you will probably be wondering, why is Rama here when it should be actually Glenn Francis? He's the president, he's the CEO of CIOAA. Well, anyway, there's a story behind this. He just got back from a long trip yesterday. Yeah, came back from the US, he's got a little bit of jet lag. So he said, Rama, why don't you do it? And, they don't call me a deputy for nothing, right? So Glenn the man has asked Shadow Rama to take over. So all the CIOs out there, there's a lesson here for all of you. You can learn it from Glenn. If you know how to work your shadow IT well, it can work in your favor, Anyway. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for coming for this event. We are really happy that this has happened today. Many months of effort has been put behind this book project. What I'm going to do today is that very quickly I'm just going to run through with you something about CIO Academy Asia for the uninformed. Okay, and then that's a short spiel from me. And then I'll quickly move on to talk about the book. And towards the end, there will be a battle cry. Okay, I'll keep you in suspense about what the battle cry is all about. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so you can see from the screen there, these are all friends who know this guy. Yeah, the famous SM. Yeah. So anyway, CIO Academy Asia. What do? Basically, we put together platforms, right? And we make things happen. We get people to share their insights, thought leaders, knowledge sharing and the expertise. And we are in the business of, raising professional standards and capabilities, in short, right? And I don't need to read word for word. I think most of you know what we do. Okay, what's our mantra? Very simple. You can see there are certain stuff that I've pulled out from the internet, about Martin Luther King talking about, our lives begin and end. It ends the day we become silent about things that matter, right? And I like the second one especially. Conversation, like certain portions of the anatomy, always runs more smoothly when lubricated, right? Yeah, interesting word, the lubricated, yeah. Today is all about technology, right? We're going to talk about technology, and it's really the campfire, right, around which we tell our stories, and that's exactly what the book is all about. In CIO Academy Asia, we believe in the power of conversation, right? So with conversation, we're able to share our insights and our experiences. And we are the lubrication. we lubricate the conversations, right? So, and in the process, accelerate the transmission of knowledge. So basically, that's what we do, right? And the more knowledgeable you are, the better you can perform in your respective jobs. Okay? This is a collage of some of the stuff that we've been doing over the last 2 years. We do leadership conferences. We had a big one in Bhutan recently. We do youth engagements, C-level executive workshops, roundtable discussions, and the list goes on, right? I mean, I think many of you have been involved in many of these engagements that we have put together. Our addressable audience, we're talking about 35,000 right now. We have 90 over partners, tech partners from the industry. And we are big in social media, right? Really big, especially my partner Glenn. Yeah, there's not one day that goes by where he doesn't bug us about social media, even on weekends. So yeah, and you know, we have close to 140,000. In fact, if I may say this, Glenn himself on LinkedIn has 20,000 followers. Yeah, okay, he said don't tell people, yeah. Okay, so it's why am I saying this is because we really believe in the power of social media, and it has helped CIO Academy Asia in a big way. Okay, so in a nutshell, who are we, right? I mean, I'm not going to give any reward for any of you trying to figure out what that is, right? We are the modest chili padi, right? And we believe in collaborating with ecosystem players. We do things differently. We make things happen. And we do it with a very strong Asian flavor. Okay, so that makes the difference between us and the other thought leaders. Okay, so now, enough of that. Let's get on to what this event is all about. It's about the book, right? So it's about the 55 CIOs and tech leaders who have spent many months of effort coming together, meeting, deciding which stories must go on, which must not, and figuring out what should be in the book, okay? And it's really a treasure trove of insights and perspectives, right? And most importantly, it's real experiences. You know, I like to highlight the fact that these are not fiction. These are real battle-scarred stories that they have shared in the book, you know? And you don't get them, you know, reading from textbooks, right? So this book is different. Why beyond SG50? I think many people have said that. Well, one of the reasons could be that actually it was planned for SG50, but it's okay. There's a story behind this. It's gone beyond that, you know. we'll not talk about that now. I need to give it a little bit of spin now, yeah? Why is it beyond SG50? Well, you know, ICT has always played a very important role in Singapore's development over the last 50 years. And these are stories from CIOs who have actually covered Asia Pacific, right? It's not only CIOs based here in Singapore doing Singapore work. Their span of control goes beyond Singapore. And we hope that from the stories, we'll inspire more to take up ICM, which is the new thing today, the ICM 2025, right? And for the next 50 years. So if you put that all together, doesn't it fit in with a really nice story why it's beyond SG50? Okay. Who will benefit from Inspire? I think that's important. Yeah, we're not just doing this for our own sake, right? The beneficiaries are pretty obvious. It's a book written by CIOs, not only for CIOs, but for also the tech and business executives. Okay, so if you have a chance to look through the book, you realize that it's not just about technology. You know, it goes beyond that. It talks about relationships. It talks about integrity. You know, it talks about the multifaceted expectations of a tech leader. You know, which I think will inspire aspiring tech leaders, right? And it can also be used as a guide for students and for the next generation of tech professionals. And most importantly, this book came from the heart, from all the writers the 55 of them, and as such, it's only befitting that the sale of the books goes to support community projects under the CSR pillar in CIO Care, which is the CIO Care. We call it the CIO Care pillar. So all proceeds will be channeled to this pillar. And the CIOs themselves, who are part of our community, will be helping us in many of these community projects. Okay? So we've got fantastic book reviews. The support for this book, overwhelming. Okay? We didn't expect it, but you know, all those people that we asked, all those organizations that we reached out to, have come forth very willingly to say, I'll do something for the review. So this is just a very quick flash. We have people, of course, Gabriel himself from IMDA was very supportive right from day one. We have the World Bank, Jordan is here, yeah. We have Cap Gemini, Lenny, who will be speaking later. ITMA, Alvin, are you here, Alvin? Yeah, there you are, Alvin. Yeah, right. And we have SCS. Howie is not here. Chuck, you're here. Yeah, Chuck is here, right? Yeah. Guess what? For the first time, we've managed to get ADB to support the book. Okay. They can't make it for this event, but they did it, you know, and sent it to us on mail. And of course, Grace, our veteran tech writer, who's here as well. We have Sui, all our great supporters from the industry. And Bill. Yeah, where's Bill? There you go, Bill. Yeah. So all, take your time later when you have a chance to take a look at the reviews. I believe they read the book. Yeah. And they were not doing it just for Glenn and myself and for the 55 writers. Yeah, okay. And yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the supporting organizations. Fantastic. Amazing. Another very overwhelming. I mean, we have Skills Future. We have Workforce Singapore. Chapong is here. ITMA, SID, Singapore Computer Society. SITF, Seaman is here. Seaman, you're here? Yeah, there you go, yeah. You know, amazing, like I said, you know. All our industry partners who are here, without them, you know, this wouldn't have been possible as well. Thank you very much. And all the community of CIOs whom we've been working very closely have helped CIO Academy Asia over the last 2 years in our very challenging journey. Thank you very much. Yeah. So these are the celebrities today, the 55 of them. Yeah, the pictures of all of them there. It's really a labor of love, right? Now, when I check the dictionary, labor of love means performing a task without expectations of a reward. Okay? Performing a task without expectation of a reward. But you know something? I think they're going to get their reward. Okay? The reward is probably when people read the book and you touch people's lives. That's the reward that you can take home for the 55 of you. So for the 55 of you, can you please stand up? A warm, yeah, thank you so much for the 55 of you. Incredible what you have done. A pat on your back, a feather on your cap. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to do something really awkward now. Bear with me to end my presentation. I don't know whether you all have watched this movie in 1992. It's called The Scent of a Woman. It's Al Pacino. Yeah, he won an Academy Award for that. And, you know, he did something which I thought was incredible throughout the movie, right? He did a battle cry. The battle cry is supposed to be from the US Army. The battle cry is an affirmation of something that you want to do, you know? And I'm going to do it for the 55 of them. Okay? Bear with me. I may not do it as well as Al Pacino, but I'll try. Okay, ready? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rama. Could we give Rama a big round of applause, please? Thank you. You know, a good conversation is supposed to leave you slightly disturbed. And I want to congratulate you because until now, I haven't thought of Glenn and Rama as lubrication. So now I'm a bit disturbed. Our first keynote presenter is one of the 55 writers of this book. A panel of judges comprising of Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak and Virgin Group founder Richard Branson recently named him something that, well, it's almost what I get called at work as well. The word disruptive is in there. He was named, of course, the world's most disruptive chief innovation officer. I was asked to leave the room. Tonight, he's here to share with us about building a beautiful boutique hotel in a remote Sumatran jungle. He's going to link that back to the corporate world. He's also promised to share some stories and examples of how to execute innovation, whether in the thumping heart of the city or in the deep tranquility of a rainforest. Ladies and gentlemen, to speak about jungle innovation, would you please welcome DBS Bank's Chief Innovation Officer, Mr. Neil Cross.
Thank you. Cheers. I love watching Rama on stage because you never know what he's going to do, in fairness. He's very, very funny. I can watch him all day. He's great. Firstly, I want to say thank you. Singapore's very much become my home. And as I was sat there and looking at all the other faces, I realised that Singapore has took me in. And I just want to say thank you for that. It's quite an honour. I love this country and I love the people here. Anyway, that's enough about that before I start crying. So I thought, right, how do we solve how to save the orangutans? So I flew the Mastercard Labs team out there into the middle of the jungle. We spent a lot of time talking to the trek guides, to the guest house owners, to the villagers, to the porters. And two things came out. One was that actually nobody knows they're Sumatran orangutans. They all think they're in Borneo. Borneo orangutans, there's about 60,000 left. In Sumatra, they're a different animal. There's only 6,000. Actually, in my jungle, there's only 200 tigers left, purely because the Chinese haven't discovered Viagra yet, which is an issue. And so what we realised as we went through is the solution was we need more executives with local power. So a lot of the tourists going there were European backpackers. One, they smelt. Two, they didn't spend enough. And three, when they go back home, they can sit in their armchair and, complain, but they're not going to have an impact. So out of that, I decided to build a very high quality boutique hotel, and I partnered with the Imam, the mosque. I did that for a number of reasons. One is the Imam's actually a very good friend of mine. He took us trekking. And secondly, I really needed a local power base. I'm a foreigner. I'm in the middle of the jungle. I may be disruptive, but I'm not stupid. And so we started. I bought this piece of land. It cost me 30,000 Singapore dollars, which is, 30,000 Singapore dollars. That's about, £3 British now? And so, yeah, well, wait a minute, I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to make jokes about English people, just in case anyone thought I was Australian. I think it's over there. Yeah. Oh, here we go, yeah. And there we go. I met this guy. I was a bit disappointed because I thought it was going to be the other Steve, but that was a bit weird because he's no longer alive. And then we won an award, and let's play catch-up. There's me in a white suit. No, I don't own a banana plantation. That's an orangutan. There's the labs team. There we go. It's all coming together. So there's the old tourist office. We bought this and we started building. Obviously, me being an expert in nothing, I knew two things about building. One is they must stand upright. Secondly, if it's a hotel, it must look nice. Now, neither of those two things seemed to happen originally. But they started to build, and I thought, well, it's going up straight, and you have to make it earthquake-proof out there, obviously. And we started to build, and eventually we built this beautiful structure. We crowdsourced the design. I used lots of innovation techniques with the locals. My driver designed the balcony. I thought he did a good job there. And then phase 2, we bought the land behind, and we built another structure. So what did I learn from this? One is don't ever do this again. The other things I learned, because it's hard, yeah? I basically didn't have a weekend off for 2 years. This is Abdullah and 2 of his nephews. The nephew on the left there, Iril, he lost all his family actually in a disaster. He's an orphan. He's also my laziest employee, but we still pay him, bless him. He's a nice kid. I'm sure he'll get it. What I learned, though, one of the things is have the right intent. And so, for a number of reasons, when I execute a lot through ecosystems, both at DBS and through here. And if you don't have a clear intent, then nobody knows how to work with you. They don't know what you're about, what you stand for, you know, basically what you're selling, where you're going. And also, my intent was very clear. I'm going to help save the orangutans. I can give people jobs. That is it. When everyone asks me, I'm doing that. And so the mosque aligned very quickly. Other people in the village aligned me, especially the older people who are trying to do good there as well. And it's really important to telegraph that intent and have that right intent. So I had nothing stolen from my site, which is probably a world first. And a lot of people want to work with me and be a part of the journey, and we got a lot of press and PR because that was our intent. What we did at DBS is we went out, one of my team came to me and said, "Hey Neil, I want to reinvent internship." I said, "Yeah, that sounds boring, but good for you. Why don't we look at reinventing education in Singapore? Because it needs it, yeah, for God's sake. I mean, it's really hard to hire innovation people who come out of the universities these days. And I do my bit, but we need to get scale." So we reinvented our internship program. We went around the universities. We asked the students to produce a 30-second video on how they're going to reinvent the world. That was our intent. We're going to go out, we're going to reinvent education. We got 200 applications. We took it down to 50. We put them through 2 days of hackathon. We had a psychologist watching them, worked out who are the leaders, who can cope under pressure, who can team, and then we took those 20, we put them in a startup center, and we split them into teams, and we got them to focus on the biggest problems in the bank. So we took 4 big problems out of the bank for the executives, and we coached and mentored them to basically create a company that would solve those problems. This is an internship. Off the back of that, the bank actually hired half the unicorns. I was on stage and I said something controversial. I'm almost as bad as Rama, in fairness for that. I made a comment that the education's fundamentally broken because we're moving to a gig economy. You know, learning about English kings is not going to help the future students, you know, be entrepreneurs. And then I got an email. The Ministry of Education will meet you next Tuesday at 2:30. Shit. Me and my big mouth. So I turned up, and actually the minister wasn't there, and they wanted to learn about it. They said, you know, this is great. And then another email, Ministry of Manpower want to meet you. Another email, Ministry of Finance wants to meet you. Another email, Attorney General wants to meet you. It's like, okay. And we actually ended up teaching a lot of the government and other corporates on how this program works and how maybe, and now we've got all the universities coming in, maybe we are helping reinvent education in Singapore because we had the right intent. The second thing I learned is everyone gets fed, which is, you know, the first thing I bought building a hotel was a rice cooker, weirdly enough. Not much good for mixing cement. I bought a cement mixer afterwards, realising my mistake. No, I'm kidding. So the first thing I had to start feeding people. And in the corporate world, you've also got to feed people. I hate these emails where an exec sends an email going, basically, blah, 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 look at this big win, didn't I do well? And I'm like, wait a minute, mate, you just wrote the email. The 50 people below you actually did it. Like, you kind of missed them, yeah? And so for me, that's feeding. Yeah, especially when you work in ecosystems, especially where people are going out of their comfort zone, they're doing something different, you've got to reward them, whether that's just pure recognition, whether that's monetary reward, whether that's career success, or just a thank you. I think could be very powerful. So in the jungle, everyone got fed. So rather than me owning the transport business, I lent the money to a very senior Amir. Again, I'm not stupid, but I set him up in a transport business. He makes all the money off transport. I set someone else in a furniture business, so they build the furniture. So I didn't have to own the ecosystem. I just had to bring the revenue in and make sure it got distributed so everyone got fed. So there's hundreds and hundreds of people who feel the impact of a very small hotel. At DBS, they came to me and said, hey, look, we're trying to educate our executives. I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. That should be fun. And they said, look, we want to teach them the digital mindset. Have you got any slides? I said, well, no. Why don't we get them to set up their own startup? Because that's how you educate people, get them to do something. They said to me, hey, Neil, like, you've probably had too much beer to drink at lunch. You know, we can't, as I said, we want some slides. I said, no, let's do this. So we took the top 250 at the bank. We put them in teams of 3. We paired them with startup companies. And in 3 days, we coached and mentored them to build a startup. And they had a pitch to the CEO. And so they had a working prototype. They had a business model. They had a go-to-market strategy. And they really understood what it's to be a startup. They had paper prototypes. They were running around shopping malls, stopping customers, freaking them out, and taking them through their kind of product they'd invented. And they learnt so much from that, and it was really, really a groundbreaking moment with the first company in the world ever to do that. In the interest of time, I'll skip the video, but you can find it online. My final thing, I actually learnt a lot more, but the 3 I'll cover was a safe place to innovate. This is Harry. Harry used to mix the cement. Not a nice job, in fairness. But I'd watch him, and when it was drying out, he'd play with it, he'd carve it, make shapes. I said, Harry, why don't you do some cement carving in the restaurant? He said, no, boss, cannot. And I'm like, well, I'd like you to do it. It's beautiful, I think you're quite good. No, cannot, no good, I'm no good. So I said to him, I said, oh, no, Harry, I think you're really good. So here's what you're going to do. I'll give you this 1 square in the restaurant, and all week I'm going to pay you to put cement on there, to carve it, to take a photo, to smash it, and the next day do it again. Do it all week and keep doing it. And he said, oh, you want me to do that? Yeah. You pay me? Yeah. How much? So we agreed a price, $6 a day, which is not bad for out there. And so eventually, you know, at the end of the week, I got beautiful carving in that square, and then he carved the whole restaurant. Now he runs his own business doing cement carving. But what I learned is I took away that impact of failure. He didn't have the confidence to take that next step and to, you know, do commercial work for something he really enjoyed. And at the bank, we get the same problem. Can you imagine a bank's really not that experimental or ambitious, are they? They're all about risk I worked out there's a lot of people who say no for some reason. So we set up a program where we took a whole division of the bank and we took their staff for 1 day a month. And for 1 day a month, they were going to run experiments, try stuff and fail to try and reinvent their division, the operations division. We called it the Sparkies program. And we ended up at the bank run over 1,000 experiments last year because we encouraged failure and experimentation. We had this program where it was allowed to fail. Actually, it was demanded that they try something and fail. Again, start to move the culture of the organization and move us more towards a tech company. So the next steps in the journey is I'm trying to outdo Richard Branson and buy an island at the moment. In fairness, I think mine's a lot nicer. So now I'm moving ahead. I'm setting up a company with some other people, like-minded people, called Leaf and Reef. And we're going to go and try and save what's left of the mammals, both land and sea, in Asia. And we're going hard, so we're raising about a $5 million fund, which actually is really easy, funnily enough. And we're going to try and do the same, replicate Hotel Orangutan. I'm building my second resort, be finished in December, a dive resort. I bought a reef. I've stopped the natives dynamiting the reef, which is good. And we're just going to go after it because they're all being killed, and it seems quite sad, really. For DBS, we're launching Asia's biggest bank innovation centre on November the 14th, 16,000 square foot. where we can run about 30 projects at once with DBS staff, about 250 staff at once. We're going big. Okay, this year we've put 5,000 staff, about a quarter of the bank, through an innovation engagement. Now we need a big space to make that happen a lot more effectively. So I'd like to thank you, the Sumatran orangutans, thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you very much. I don't know about you, I really enjoyed the presentation, but the applause seemed not to say that. You want to give the corresponding applause? There you go. I'm a straight guy, but I'm so attracted to Neil. I want to be so good at what I do that I can dress like Neil wherever I go. Great job. In an innovation landscape that is increasingly leveraging emerging technologies, a rigorous, disciplined, and open approach is required to rapidly and securely gain the competitive advantage by hedging risks and compressing cycle times. Applying innovation at speed, scale, with safety and with certainty, and becoming proficient at doing so is an enterprise core competency and the new market realities. To share some insights on how organizations can accelerate their innovation agenda and while keeping all these things in mind, would you please welcome Capgemini's Global Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Lanny Cohen.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure how to follow that. That's unique. I was thinking of maybe taking my jacket off, my shirt off, but I decided probably I shouldn't do that. So yeah, I'm Lanny Cohen. I'm the Group Chief Technology Officer at Capgemini. It's a total pleasure and honor to be with you tonight. Frankly, I'm quite humbled to even be here. Just to be in front of a group like this is amazing. It's an incredible opportunity for me. So thank you to the CIO Academy for that. I'll just going to take about 10 or 15 minutes of your time to share maybe some new perspectives on the field of innovation and how we're tackling the challenge that's out there. I've been asked a number of times, though, why I came to Singapore, and I'll tell you there's two reasons. One, I think I'm overdue getting here. There's just so much happening in this geography that's quite amazing, and I think the U.S. for certain, but I think even more the world is underappreciating all the activity that's going on here and the caliber and the quality of the people and the work, and it's just so important. So I'm here to experience it and make sure we as a company are leveraging it, but more importantly to spread the word. The second reason I'm here is I'm actually looking for an apartment. Why? 5 days from now is Armageddon in the U.S. And I'm going to need a place to live for the next 4 years. So, yeah. So if anybody's got an extra room for 4 years, you may have a tenant. Let me get into this a little bit, though. So we've been looking at the field of innovation for quite a while and kind of seeing a lot of demand for it, which is no surprise, but also a lot of the challenges associated with it. And the question is, what are those challenges and what are people doing with it? So first of all, we know how uncertain the market is today. And from pretty much any dimension, any perspective you want to look at, it's quite a volatile environment we're all working in. And the statistics just continue to bear that out. Over 80% of new product launches fail. Over 90% of CEOs say their companies are moving way too slow. Over 70% of CIOs say they're challenged to be able to keep up with the business demand. And on the statistics go. And I found it fascinating when I had an opportunity to read the book because I thought Inspire, not only in a word in of itself was so important, but what those 7 letters represented, I think were absolutely critical and spot on with how to look at innovation in the market today. We know the story of all these disruptors that have hit so many industries, and we also know that the average age of a company on the S&P 500 continues to decline. And there's something, obviously a big story happening there. But I think underlying that, what's kind of profound is that the pace of innovation is accelerating each and every day. So new innovations are coming at our companies on an ongoing basis. The sources of innovation themselves are so varied and diversified, where innovation's coming from so many corners of the world also every day. They're coming from large corporations, they're coming from small startups, they're coming from government entities, they're coming from academics, and on that story goes. And the impact of innovation has become much broader than ever before, where entire business models are getting disrupted, entire value chains, entire industries, at a pace, again, that's faster and faster. At the same time, innovation isn't just relegated to one small domain in an enterprise anymore. Infrastructure gets innovated. Products, services, operations, processes get innovated. Experience of our stakeholders, notably the customer experience, but not just the customer experience, but the employee experience is getting innovated, and business models are getting innovated. And as we move from the lower left to the upper right, there's more and more at stake. The value opportunities certainly become more profound as you make that journey from the lower left to the upper right. But the disruption, both opportunity and impacts, are quite a bit greater too as you move through that journey. But when you look at organizations today, and this is where we really have focused our energy, most organizations are just ill-positioned today just to foster innovation. As much as we want to talk about it, there's some real challenges there. And Neil touched upon several of those in his comments, and I think the book also has touched on a number of those. There's issues with talent. Most of the time, culture and organization. With all the companies I've met in just the 2 days I've been in Singapore, the one word that has come up more often is mindset. We have trouble with getting the mindset to change around innovation. And you see many of the other types of challenges that companies go through. So while the intent is clearly there around innovation, the ability to innovate or to adopt and consume and apply and scale innovation is often challenged. And one of the other reasons that we see there is so many companies are geared towards their Horizon 1 focus. And Horizon 1 is really built around modernizing the core of their business, protecting the core. And you get into a little bit of incremental innovation in Horizon 1, but for the most part, most organizations are really built around their Horizon 1 world. Their talent is built around that, their products, their services, their processes, their governance, their leadership is all Horizon 1. And where the disruptions are occurring, where the action is occurring, is often in Horizon 2 and Horizon 3. That's where the new is being built. That's where the opportunities to change the games are occurring. But again, so few organizations are really built around that. And most companies that you see that are successful have a split of about 70%, 20%, 10% as you move from the left to the right in this model. But unfortunately, most companies are around 90, 10, 0 at best. Most of them, frankly, are at 100, 0 today. And these are real challenges that companies are going through, and how do they make that shift to begin to able to move more of their focus, more of their energy in that direction. And also what compounds the problem is while all this is happening, okay, there's more demand for speed, there's more demand for scale, there's more demand for safety and security and innovation, and there's more demand for certainty in terms of the business outcomes that the innovation is trying to address. So we believe there's a new response that's required in the market today. The current responses are just not timely enough, the ROI isn't there, they're not sustainable, and those challenges have to be overcome. So what we've done is we've focused on, again, with a number of our clients around the world, around this concept of applied innovation. And we think innovation without true, strong, very well thought out application is really a big challenge for companies today. And even further to that point, if innovation is going to keep coming, then we believe companies are going to have to become more proficient and develop true core competencies around applying innovation, when many of them are ill-equipped to do so today. And it really starts with this mindset that innovation isn't a random act. As much as we'd like to think sometimes that put two smart millennials in a room and hope for the best, that's really not innovation. Okay? Innovation is a discipline. It has to focus on real business outcomes. And it's something that can be planned and measured and managed. And when it's looked in that light, that's when you start to get the real value out of innovation. And what does it require? First of all, it requires a framework. And again, it's almost counterintuitive because we think of innovation as just kind of free-flowing, free-forming, kind of go off, do your own thing. But we believe that innovation really, truly has a viable framework associated with that. It requires a real open ecosystem. There's no company in the world that can look anyone in the eyes and say they can truly innovate solely on their own. It does require access to startups and thinking the way startups think and reaching out much more beyond the four walls of the enterprise. And it requires environments that are conducive. There's a reason why companies are building innovation centers and facilities around this. And not many of them are doing a good job at it, mind you, but there's a reason why it's important, because those environments really can create a very experiential, performance-based way of looking at the problem and really dealing with innovation. At Capgemini, one of the things we've done is we've stood up a global platform on this concept that we refer to as the Applied Innovation Exchange. It's made up today of 10 entities, facilities around the world that are all networked and connected together. This allows our clients to come in and actually experience innovation, co-innovate, put people in our facility, collaborate with ourselves, with startups, with other partners that are all relevant to attacking the business problem that we're trying to deal with. And I'm also very pleased to announce, and many of you already know this, we're now looking at our 11th Applied Innovation Exchange, which will open in Singapore in the first quarter of next year. And we think that's very, very important because of all the innovation that's going on in this market and all the stories we've heard earlier tonight. This is an important market, we think, in the global ecosystem of where innovation's going to occur. And here's just a quick map of where those sites are today. But as I said, it'll be 11 in the first quarter, and by the middle of next year, we expect to have 20 sites around the world that form this global platform that'll really help clients on a global basis be able to get access to the most innovative organizations around the world and to be able to innovate on a round-the-clock kind of basis that we think is going to be more and more important. The one message I'd leave any company with, because I'm also often asked, when we do the presentations like this, well, what do you recommend? And I think the number one recommendation is act. Do something. Okay? Standing still is not an option because the rest of the world is moving. If you're standing still, it's tantamount to just moving backwards. So we suggest acting. And I think, Neil used the term experiment in his last couple of comments, and I think it's a great concept because experimentation is just a way to begin to experience innovation, try it out, put a foot in the water, and get moving with something that we think is, like I said, pretty critical. Again, I love the name of the book because it's got an emotional reference. Inspiration, inspire is all about emotion. And I think for anything to work, it's got to have an emotional element. And when we looked at the subject of applied innovation, there was 4 words that kind of created an emotional attachment for us. One was to inform, one was to inspire, one was to incite, and then one was to ignite. And we really believe that if you can kind of create that mindset in a corporation and really get that flywheel spinning, it's amazing the power that innovation can really bring. And not just bringing the innovation, but getting the business outcomes and the value out of the innovation that you're looking for. So with that, I'm just going to close my comments. Again, thank you all for the opportunity to be here tonight. We'll be here for the rest of the evening, so if you want to hear more, this is usually about a 30-minute presentation, so trying to keep it in check. But again, I thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a real honor and pleasure to be with you all tonight, and congratulations on that literary piece of work. It's really, really phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lanny. Another round of applause, please, for Lanny. How was the book first conceptualized? What was the idea behind it? Who were the people behind it? And who will benefit from the book? Well, the answer to these questions and more lie on the video screen. So if you will, please have a look at the screens and catch a behind-the-scenes look of the journey of Inspire beyond SG50.
So it started out as an inspirational dream, but I didn't know where to begin, so it was an interesting journey. And I thought to myself, how do I get this dream in place? Why not I crowdsource this book to multiple writers, my peers, CIOs in the industry, and get them to write a piece of their story. So the idea was to pull a chairwoman. So I was very fortunate. So sometime in March 2015, I was working very closely with Candice. So she agreed. So one idea that was surfaced was maybe put a number of leaders who can help lead different sections of the book. And we called them field leaders. And we thought it would be nice, maybe we can get 50 CIOs together, each writing a story. And then we launched it during SG50. Mind you, we are CIOs, we are not writers. We found a team called Inspire. Each letter meant something.
Integrity, new strategy, people, implementation, relationship, and excellence.
It was Glenn with touching base and said, we've got this idea to get CIO's perspective, especially from an agent perspective. I think end of the day, the challenge was to identify those you felt that it was more impactful.
Actually takes us about March to complete the whole entire book, and then it was already it's already beyond SG50. So we actually changed it to say beyond SG50. And we are very fortunate to have 55 CIOs come up for it.
We're fortunate. Candice was able to give us some of our paintings as well to segregate the various chapters or sections of the book. Now that we've written the book, how do we get it to publishing? So I was fortunate because at the point of time, Rama, my partner in crime, had done a book for SIPF.
To me, layout is very important. So we had to tear it apart and approach it on a very systematic basis. And I must say that at the end of it, that we are very satisfied with what we've done. We hope that the writers will accept it, that we've done the best that we can, given that limited time.
The other thing that we had to think about was what to put on the cover.
I was only interested to do the book cover design and actually work on the layouts as well.
My role was to first conceptualize together with Glenn, the CIOs, and to condense some of our ideas. I'm very happy that Nikesh came along the way also to make the dream a reality.
How do you make this cover exciting? And we wanted to humanize this book. And that was the reason why we chose images of CIOs to be on the front and the back of the cover.
The double-face illusion concept conveys the multifaceted role of the CIO. The CIO has to keep an eye on critical IT operations on a day-to-day basis, and yet not lose sight of the longer term of driving digital transformation.
So we've come so far, and finally, the final product is here. So I'm really excited. I'm sure all our writers here today are going to be really excited as well. And we are just hoping that we can get this to the public, we get people to read it, hear our stories.
Now, it's a tremendous honor for us to have with us our guest of honor, Mr. Gabriel Lim, Second Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Communications and Information, and Chief Executive Officer, IMDA Singapore, to celebrate with us the launch of this book. It's now my pleasure to invite Mr. Lim to say a few words before we start the book launch.
Okay, it's a small enough room. I think it's y'all can hear me, but I just want to say thank you very much again to Glenn and to Rama for inviting me on this very auspicious launch. I also want to thank Neil and to Lenny for two extremely stirring presentations. If you felt that you had a tough act to follow after Neil, put yourself in my shoes and imagine how I feel. Rama first spoke to me about this book quite a few months ago. I think it was in May, and you were obviously working hard at the book, very excited by the project. And obviously very energized by the sort of contributions that you had from the CIO community. And as you were talking to me about the book and the evolution of the CIO role, one thing was very clear. CIO of today and the CIO of tomorrow will be very different, or is very different from the CIOs of the past. I mean, I think the book contains many stories about how CIOs are originally looking really at information, hard infrastructure, networks. But as you've seen, hearing from Neil, hearing from Lenny, CIO todays are innovators, they are catalysts. And in fact, as I was thinking about the theme of some of my remarks, it occurred to me that the CIO today really means catalyzing innovative opportunities, because that's what you do. You are a catalyst, you're a fire starter, you're a trailblazer, you obviously are building innovation, not just taking things at the status quo, but driving forward, making change. And at the end of the day, you're putting opportunities for your companies, for your colleagues, and for yourselves. And we see this in many ways. The stories, the 55 stories are wonderful. It's a wonderful compendium of the experiences of all of you, many sectors, many nationalities, many backgrounds. And as I was thinking about the CIO role, it occurred to me that actually what's true for companies holds true for governments and for Singaporeans and for countries as well. And many of you know here, the IMDA, together with GovTech, Jackie is over there, we are 1 month and 2 days old, I believe. And in respects, even though IMDA, for example, is not the CIO for Singapore, but in many respects, we too have a mandate to catalyze innovative opportunities for the country as well. And I see this as a very serious and important role that we have to play. And I've kind of borrowed a little bit from Neil's framework to be clear about our intention. And one thing that we are very clear about in IMDA is that our role is to really create a platform, create an opportunity to take Singapore forward into a world where digital, where technology, where infocom media is so pervasive and so ubiquitous, it's just part and parcel of our everyday life. And so what does that mean for us as catalysts? This is a government, this is a country where the government is not a laggard, it's not a follower. The government sets the scene, the government takes an active role in shaping the future, whether it's through Committee for the Future Economy, whether it's through just investing in infrastructure ahead of time, whether or not it's building skills for the future, taking that leap of faith to make sure our people, our workers, our companies are well equipped. And that's something that we see for ourselves in IMDA, how we can create a future that's exciting, that's practical, that's lucrative, that's fun for all. And also as an innovation hub, that's one thing that I think we have tried to do it again and again. In IMDA, it's not just about the infrastructure. For that we have. We have labs, we have innovation spaces, we have Doc 71, we have Bash, you know this probably better than I do. But if I can borrow and quote Neil, how do you create that space to fail fast, fail quickly, but learn and pick up and move forward? And if you think about it, Singapore as a country, we have embraced this role. Lenny talked a bit about the mindset for failure and the mindset to embrace change. But oftentimes when you look back at maybe not so much beyond SG50, but in the first SG50, we made several innovative changes. We went against many ruling orthodoxies of the day to blaze our own path and create our own future. And I think we've generally benefited from that. So within IMDA, how are we creating innovation? We are indeed trying to build on that legacy. We are creating places, there is I won't announce the name right now, but between the IMDA labs and the upcoming studios, a creator space and a game solution center, creating opportunities for our people to embrace innovation, creating platforms, creating challenges, tech challenges, business challenges, where we can bring the industry together to solve wicked problems, to create opportunities for all. And more importantly, to create that mindset and that willingness, the ecosystem where you can fail and learn and succeed in the future. And finally, obviously, how do you create opportunities? Again, you want at the end of the day to grow the pie for everyone. You want to grow the pie for everyone so that we all can get fed, right? Not just rice, but perhaps much more than that. A bit of a topping and some nice vegetables and meat as well. But we want to. That's what it ultimately boils down to. It boils down to growth, it boils down to jobs, and it boils down to opportunity. And IMDA also, we see that as a critical role because that's what it applies to. Lenny spoke about applied innovation, and really the application of innovation, the application of enterprise lies in better lives, better jobs, better growth, and really just better lives for all Singaporeans. And that's something that we see very clearly as our role. We are committed to doing that role, but we also know that this is a role that we cannot deliver on our own. And when we look at things, mission as broad and as comprehensive as this, we have to work with many partners. Within the government, with partners, important stakeholders like GovTech, Smart Nation Program Office, perhaps Economic Development Board for some of the MNCs and large local enterprises. That's one group of stakeholders. With the public, for sure, to bring them along this journey, to help them understand why digital, why infocom media is real to their lives and not just some abstract technological trend which they can sort of let pass over their head. But most importantly, I think, also with partners like CIO Academy Asia, not just because you have a network of CIOs that you're engaging, but because you're building communities. Because you're building communities where through this community, this group and the larger community beyond that, you can create a certain shared understanding of our common challenges as a country and as an economy and maybe even as a sector, right? We can build up capabilities for the future. And as the title says, we can inspire mindsets, inspire younger generations of CIOs, right, to create new opportunities beyond SG50. So that's something that we are very excited by. The book gives you a very useful short primer into some of these insights, but really the journey lies ahead of us. It is a long and, frankly speaking, never-ending road. But we do hope to celebrate SG100 and beyond. We do hope there will be many more books like these in SG100, SG200, hopefully SG500 and beyond. But I just want to say thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to meet all of you. I'm very delighted to be able to launch the book, and I just want to say well done to everyone who's contributed to this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Gabriel to remain on stage. And now I get to invite Glenn as well, the president of CIO Academy, on stage to officiate the book launch. It's a rather state-of-the-art process. There's a curtain drawstring. One of them works, one of them doesn't. It's a 50-50 chance. All right. With Rani and Mel, which is Mel. Okay. So we're going to do a countdown, ladies and gentlemen, from 5 down to 1, and then we'll launch the book. So if everybody's ready to join me, shall we start? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'd like to present a commemorative edition of the book to Gabriel. The little flourishes on the guitar as well. Would you help me thank Gabriel, please? Thank you very much. And Glenn, thank you very much. We would like to invite the 7 pillar leaders to come up as well, and with Candice, because she is going to present them with special editions of the book as well. This is called information coming in through the left ear and going out straight away. So this is a photo we'd like to have now with the 7 pillar leaders, each of them representing one of the letters in Inspire. So some acknowledgement, please, for the leaders who led the 7 pillars. Okay, and now this will be a physical representation of data compression at high speed. All 55 authors, please. We'd like you to assemble yourself in some sort of holographic matrix. For those of you gathering on stage, we'd like to assure you the stage has not been ISO certified. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the authors of Inspire Beyond SG50. Great stuff. One more round of applause, please, as they take their seats. So Our very special VIP guest will be receiving a special edition, special signed edition of the book. I think the 7 pillar leaders will be autographing the books. And of course, everybody else who is invited this evening, you all get a free copy of the book as well. I feel like Oprah. And in fact, you know what? You all have your book already. It is literally right underneath you, right now. That is one way to get the audience to bow to the MC. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Domo arigato. So have a look at the book, enjoy the book, and while you have a look at the book as well, we'd like to invite our VIP guests outside. I believe there's a little... Rama, are you guiding them outside for this? Yes, we'd like to invite our VIP guests first to take their leave, to go to the next room, just to have a look. Everybody else will be invited to just join them in just a moment as well. But once again, will you help me thank our guests, our guests of honor, our speakers, with a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Those of you who want to buy additional books, they are available for sale. For 1 to 2 books, you can actually purchase them and pick them up from next door. If you require any additional copies, you'll have to fill out a form and collect them from CIO Academy. Just want to let you know that the books will be on sale online from tomorrow, and they'll be on sale for $40. But if you buy them here this evening, they're just going to be $30, so inclusive of GST. And the URL, tinyurl.com/InspireSG50. So it's kind of time for a networking cocktail. We invite you to just hang about, have some food, have some drink, and enjoy each other's company. And I hope you find what's in the book truly inspirational. It'll help you take you way beyond SG50. By the way, I've moved on from radio, and as I was listening to the ideas of failing fast, I just want to tell you that I've been in the industry that's failing slow. And I'm very inspired by you guys. One of the things that I try to do in what I do now as a presentation coach is I'm trying to help Singapore companies who are great tell people that they're great. So if you'd like to speak to me about that, I'm going to be around as well. Have yourselves a really great evening. By the way, what day of the week is it today? It's Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, please end off the evening with a big round of applause for yourself. You guys have been the best Thursday night audience I've had all week. Thank you. Thank you.